topic of today is abiding in God. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Yogananda often emphasized, more often to his disciples than to the general public, but also to everyone generally, for it was a universal teaching, the importance of attunement. For divine understanding cannot be created. It must be perceived. To the disciples, Yogananda spoke of the importance of attunement with the Guru. To others, he urged the importance at least of attuning oneself to higher consciousness. Can an eagle rise without support from the sustaining air? Jesus Christ said in the Gospel of St. John, chapter 15, I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch, and he is withered. And men gather them and cast them into fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit, so shall you be my disciples. How can we abide in him? Jesus says, if my words abide in you. By words, he meant not only his spoken words, but his vibrations, his consciousness, of which the words are only an expression. We must abide by the teachings, but we must also absorb those teachings into ourselves, that they become our own experience. For disciples of this path, the more in their hearts they live consciously in the presence of the Masters, the more they will find the divine presence living within them. And for all truth seekers, whether disciples or not, the more they live sustained inwardly by the awareness of God's presence, the higher they will find themselves, soaring in wisdom and joy. For the Bhagavad Gita says in the 10th chapter, I am the source of everything. From me all creation emerges. Blessed with this realization, the wise, awe-stricken, adore me. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Again, I wish you a beautiful Sunday. A few years ago, I was in Lisbon. There was the Worldly Expo. It was very beautiful. And someone invited Swami Kriyananda to visit the fair. The plane to Lisbon was leaving from Bologna. And I offered myself to drive Swami to Bologna and to other friends. There is a secondary road from here up to Cesena, but the road was full of interruptions and time was going by, and of course the plane was not waiting for us. So when I reached the highway, I started driving very quickly, super quickly. It was 200 miles, and Swami was there, sitting by myself, completely quiet. And he told me, can this car be faster? can you drive faster? And I said, Swami, I'm at the maximum speed. I cannot do more. So when you are at, and he said, well, if we are at our best, it's good. We reached the plane in time. I parked in the front door, and Swami lived with a great joy for Lisbon. And in myself, I was thinking, it's weird that Swami asked me to go faster. He was not only speaking about the car. He was speaking also of our lives. I understood how much time we lose. A lot of time. Every day we have spaces of our lives, moments, not void, not completely empty, but probably half empty. And these moments are very important. This should make us think. When we came to this world, we came with a specific goal, and we knew that. And we didn't have time to lose. But we didn't make our effort completely. Just like that man on the train, stopping at many stations, and he just looks at all the names of the cities. And someone asked him, are you saying the names of the stations? And he said, well, I had to leave the train hours ago, but it's so comfortable sitting on the train. And so sometimes are our lives. When we are too comfortable, sometimes we don't have so much time to lose. Life goes by quickly. When I was young, I was thinking of the year 2000, and it seemed so far away. I thought we might travel on spaceships, and maybe we can travel with thoughts. So I had this, as a young boy, I had this idea of year 2000 when I was 10 years old. So 2000 came and didn't change much in traveling, at least. So the time that we think will change our lives, not necessarily will change our lives. So it is our will and our good actions, good deeds that can change our lives. We all have this choice. If you do the right choice, you will travel fast. Go at your best, as Swami was suggesting, at a maximum speed. So if nobody tells you, go faster, do it yourself. Otherwise, when you reach the end of your life, you will be so regretful of the many things you didn't do. This makes me think a lot. And when I meditate, I always ask, what is the right thing that you want from me, not what I want from myself? God respects our will. He never imposes on our will. He never tells us what to do. We have to ask Him. We have to attract His word in the silence of our meditation and understand His will. With that, our life will be transformed. Every day of our life, we have this choice. If we ask God, what do you want from me? Maybe I don't understand you completely. Speak louder, or give me a sign. Be sure He will answer you. He will give you a sign. Maybe we want to understand it completely, and this sign will come through a person, maybe, or through a step we don't see and we fall. It can be through 1,000 things, but when you enter that dimension, your mind will be open. Because we have said, reveal thyself, and God will do that. Just like that man who had the habit of gambling because he wanted to help his family. One day, his children, he was pretty old, found out that he won 100,000 euros. And the son said, we cannot tell him because he suffers from heart attacks. But he won. What do we do? Let's ask the priest. The priest of our church might know how to explain that to our father. So they call the priest. And the father, the elderly father, comes, goes to the priest, and the priest says, let's imagine you have won 100,000 euros. What would you do with that money? And the elderly father said, well, I would give half to the church. In that moment, the priest went to panic. So emotions of what happens in our life always come. Emotions, when we are not centered, these emotions will come, and they should help us to think, what is thy will? What should I do now in this situation? And when we offer God the possibility to help us, the answers will come. And this is the most important thing. I love riding my bike. And my bike, I started using very early in my life, and it was my bike, and nobody could use it. I never gave it to anybody to try, because I was afraid that they might ruin it. Maybe they would use it not correctly. So one day, about 35 years ago, a man called Paramhansa Yogananda asked me, can I ride your bike? And I said, no, it's mine, it is too precious. And I am the only one allowed to ride it. After a few days, he answered again, can I have a very short ride? Very short one. Come on, I won't ruin it. And I said, no, it's too precious. And then he repeated, let's do like this. You will move the pedals, and I will drive. Okay, but a very short drive. And we started. And I told him, okay, do your part, because we are too slow. And he started. And I wanted to go the bike, to drive a certain way, but he took a shortcut. And I thought, well, this is crazy. This is not the right road. This is the wrong way. He turned and looked at me and said, I know where I am going, don't worry. So I closed my eyes and I said, okay, you drive. I'll have faith in you. Not complete faith, but I'll try to have a little faith. And he took me in wonderful places. And sometimes when I slowed down, when I was too slow, he told me, come on, be faster. You are too slow. There is no wind, there is no speed. You are too slow. We are stagnant. And I told him, well, I'm tired. And he gave me some water to drink. That water that Jesus gave to a Samaritan at the well. It was a water that was able to satisfy completely my thirst. But I had to do my part, because he wanted speed on that bicycle. And I understood something. If I stopped moving the pedals, the bike would slow down. That was my part. He couldn't do that because he was just moving the upper part of the bike, giving direction. But thanks to that cooperation, I visited wonderful places. I went to places of healing. I visited places of wisdom. I visited and knew. I met wonderful souls. And then I started to have trust. I trusted that crazy pilot that had no fear at all. No fear of obstacles. He jumped on them. Many times I had to close my eyes because I was afraid of falling. But if it happened that I fell, I saw it was only my imagination. Because before touching the ground, he was already bringing me up. So every day I moved that bicycle, starting 35 years ago, and I haven't stopped yet. At a certain point, I gave him a complete trust, faith, and one day I was so happy to live new experiences. Every day I was able to visit wonderful places with him, and it goes on. It went on like that for 35 years. There is no other way to live. I think that you don't need a new bicycle. We do have our bike, but we just have to learn to let the master drive it. And I grant you that these masters behind me are completely able to drive our bikes. And when we think we are doing the right thing, maybe it's just habit, monotony. Maybe our lives are too predictable. We want to know what is going to happen tomorrow or the next week. And we feel at peace with that. We think that what we see in the next months, weeks, days is the best thing that might happen. But almost always, the true pilot of our life, the true driver, has a different idea. And when he starts, and when he leaves, I grant you that he drives very quickly. When Swami told me, go as fast as you can, he said that because God wants us to take us home in our heavenly abode. All the rest is just losing time. I think that if I ask you if you want to lose time, I think that the answer would be no. So, close your eyes and let's do our part on our bike. I wish you a beautiful Sunday.